am so delighted to see everyone here today because all of us contribute to everyone else in this room and to celebrate all the folks that are joining us today to be recognized. We celebrated our 100th anniversary in 2021. It was in February of 1921. A group of young men, they were in their early 20s, 60 chartering members.
When C.A.C.A. was first established in response to the 1882 Exclusion Act, it was there to help bring services to Chinese Americans who could not access the services of other citizens. One of them was life insurance. There was a $10 life insurance benefit for all members.
For the essay contest, our first place winner is Charlie Bloomer.
We do an annual luncheon every year to recognize our scholarship winners. Their families get to come and see them get the award.
All of our members to please come on up. Members of C.A.C.A.
And it also honors and recognizes all the work and all the volunteers that work on the Asian American Youth Leadership Conference.
The Portland Lodge's mission is threefold: develop leadership, to serve the community, and to promote civil rights.
The history of the Chinese diaspora in Oregon is really deep. Around the 19th, 20th century, 10% of the population of Portland was Chinese American. It was one of the biggest Chinese communities on the West Coast. The first wave of immigration came through here. There is a couple Chinatowns in Portland originally. The oldest Chinatown just south of what's now considered the old Chinatown.
Portland Chinatown was on the southwest, blocked by the river. That's the first Chinatown. We were segregated. When I grew up, we lived in the storefront. Most of the Chinese were speaking Cantonese. Eventually, we moved down to the northwest Portland, closer to Union Station. Now, all the business, the local Chinese tongs have all disappeared, moved eastward after they were allowed to own property.
I want to take a moment to remember a pillar of our organization. And that's Betty Jean Lee. So just want to take a moment, a pause, and remember her. She passed away 2 years ago. So let's take a moment and remember Betty Jean Lee.
Betty Jean Lee was one of our matriarchs and leaders who was one of the first women members of C.A.C.A. when they started allowing women to join.
Betty was a real go-getter. She helped organize the food fair, teach cooking at the local colleges. She helped organize the Chinese local cookbook, which is on their 8th edition.
The C.A.C.A. Portland Lodge cookbook is legendary. A compilation of all these recipes by the members. Home-cooked Chinese dishes, classic mom cooking, classic home cooking. Half these recipes don't have like measurements. They're just like a list of ingredients.
It was Betty Jean's idea to document, to show the public the history of Chinese Americans here in Portland, Oregon. She wanted to create a plaque to show where the original Chinatown was.
As an urban designer, I always interested in the spirit of the place. Every place is unique. I was looking for clues. Where was it? What was it? Where were the people?
What we see today is not what has always been. And to understand what has happened in the past, there were many things that hurt and harmed people of color, in this case, the Chinese Americans. It is to help people to not only understand, but to recognize that we can do better.
This area used to be Chinatown.
My connection with C.A.C.A. is really the spirit of Betty Jean Lee. There's more than just an empty Chinatown. That's how I got started. I became a C.A.C.A. member through her connection.
There is a building in Portland, Chinatown that had sat empty for decades. The members of C.A.C.A. had used that space on the second floor as a Portland Lodge office. When they were renovating, we found a safe. Seeing the safe with the C.A.C.A., it was just wow.
The Lancer Chinese Garden was founded nearly 24 years ago, but before it was even built, there was a group that came together. Some of the folks are our members, like Norman Locke, Betty Jean Lee. When the garden was finally done, the first AD is our member, Gloria Lee. And since then, we've had other folks like Steven, and I am serving on the board right now. It is to uplift Asian American culture and voices. And so another part is that it is in Chinatown. It's like a window into the Chinese American, Asian American culture.
I still hear stories today of current members, past members, other Chinese Americans just within our community that talk about C.A.C.A. basketball and how prevalent that was in their life. In that time, a lot of Chinese weren't always allowed to play for their schools, kind of like this intramural space. And there was a boys and a girls team too. I've heard stories that they used to do a tournament with Seattle every year. They would bus and carpool all these kids to go play basketball.
There was very few activities for the Portland Chinese community. They reorganized the youth group to play basketball, trained them, helped them practice. The Portland Local Lodge sponsored with insurance and uniforms and other expenses. A lot of kids were home alone. They were not being taken care of. The parents were always working. This was a chance for them to be entertained, playing basketball with their friends. I got involved because the original C.A.C.A. members were recruiting new blood. The Portland Lodge C.A.C.A. was a combination of several Chinese that spoke English. They helped the other Chinese solve their problems through their interpretation of the law in Portland. They were not allowed to buy and own property, go through secondary American people that would assist them, buy the property, and then transfer it over to the Chinese. Chinese were not entitled to own the property.
25 years ago, in 1999, I was the grateful recipient of the Fred and Betty Lee Scholarship here in this Chinatown. So my roots run deep. This is my home. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to say how grateful I am to this community because you've been along with me all along the way. And it made it possible for this daughter of a Chinese immigrant who was a cook in a Chinese restaurant and a cleaning lady to get an Ivy League education. It was the support of scholarships and community programs and organizations like this that has made my life possible. Thank you to the C.A.C.A., thank you to the Lee family for your support. To all of you, the young people here, congratulations for all of your amazing accomplishments. And also to your parents for bringing you this far, for all of their accomplishments. So thank you for this opportunity to honor my parents and to recognize all of you. So thank you. We are grateful to have this opportunity to present the scholarship to Sheng Yao Lu.
Very interested in social justice, racial justice, and I see C.A.C.A. as an opportunity to help support those causes in the Chinese American community here in Portland. We are currently working on the design of a memorial at the Lone Fir Cemetery here in Southeast Portland. Block 14 was the site of the historic Chinese burial ground. From the mid to late 1800s through 1927, it was the primary burial location for people in the Chinese community here. This was during the time of Chinese exclusion, and in Oregon there was many other types of restrictions like alien land laws, which prevented the Chinese community from outright owning their own burial ground or even entering into a formal contractual agreement. When Multnomah County took over ownership from a private owner of the cemetery in 1927, they halted burials, dug up hundreds of remains in the late 40s. The Chinese community was forced to try to send back the bone boxes with these hundreds of remains to China right at the peak of the Communist Revolution. They never made it back to their home villages.
The 2,800 Chinese that were buried there over time, not only to pay respect to them, but to tell the world, tell the community the wrong that the county has done.
It's a harm that we're having the opportunity to help repair. Recognizing those individuals, putting their names back in public space, honoring that site, and repairing the landscape. This project, it sat on the shelf for these past 20 years until finally a bond measure was passed. Helen and members of C.A.C.A. and members of the Lone Fir Cemetery Foundation and the Chinese Consolidated Benevolent Association strongly advocated for the importance of this project.
This year, we helped to put on the 32nd Annual Asian American Youth Leadership Conference, held on April 12. We had 680 plus people there, including over 500 students from 45 high schools in Oregon and Southwest Washington.
The Asian American Youth Leadership Conference has been around in Portland for 36, 37 years now. And it was originally started by Paul Dong. Since then, we've been the umbrella sponsor.
One of the things that we have done is making sure that the Chinese American history and contribution is a part of what is taught in our schools. In 2017, Portland Lodge was able to successfully carry a bill that went from a concept all the way up to Ways and Means.
Catherine Nguyen.
We've been really fortunate that Gloria Lee is part of our board, and she has this background in nonprofit. That has been a way for us to bring different nonprofit skill sets and processes to C.A.C.A. to keep us growing and evolving.
Gloria, she has a wealth of experience in grant writing, and she has helped to write multiple grants for us. Right now, we have a grant that is going to help with the work of civic engagement, a Myers grant that is $50,000. Helping to register voters, educating voters so that they are informed when they vote.
Our community has many folks that are not voting and are not engaged and are not active. Voter registration and ballot collection. We had to train translators. There were so many terminology and things that don't translate from English to Chinese, and also the way ballot measures are written.
The work is not done. And that's why I think C.A.C.A., we're still relevant, because the work continues.